Hey guys, welcome to SheKnowsArsenal. My name is Jessica. I'm your host. You can follow me on Twitter at JustinoTweets and at SheKnowsArsenal. Welcome to our match reaction for Arsenal's game against Chelsea in the Florida Cup. I guess that's what it's called. And we beat them 4-0, which is amazing. So, what we're going to do today is kind of just give you guys an opportunity to say kind of how you feel, about the game, and also kind of talk about the individual performances. We did this for the game against, I think, Orlando City. And so we'll kind of do the same thing where we'll go through some ratings. I think some performances um, probably deserve a longer conversation than others. But nevertheless, I do think that this was a good window into what we can expect from Arsenal next season from how we're going to play. I do think that I'll say this right now that I do think that, you know, we played so good, and I won't take anything away from us because at the beginning of the game, I do think Chelsea found it really difficult to try to impose their game on us, and that was because our press was so good. Um, so I do think that we deserve a lot of credit. Where people will say, "Oh, they just gave us the ball." Like I'm sure Tuchel will come out in his press conference and say, "Oh, we basically scored 3 goals for them, or 4 goals for them," whatever he said. But pressing is a way to create chances, and I do think that we did that today. But also, realistically, I do think Chelsea looked really, really poor just in general, in terms of body language, ingenuity, creativity. They just didn't seem up for it. And I love games where I see, other top six teams just don't seem up to playing us because I do think that a lot of that comes from how we impose ourselves on them. Once they realize it's not going to be an easy game, they kind of just give up. And so we've seen that with Manchester United before. We've seen it with Spurs. We've seen it with Chelsea before. And I do think that that's exactly what we saw today. The way that we were set up and the way that we came out and our intention of the game made it so difficult for them that they just said, you know what? We don't have time for this. Now, I don't know about you, but I was really frustrated about those initial fouls at the beginning of the game. I do think that there's a level of disrespect, and this happened last preseason when we played against Chelsea, where the players that were, I guess, desperate to try to get into the team were trying too hard, and I thought Conor Gallagher was a disgrace today. The way that he was diving into challenges and things like that. But also we gave it back to them. That's the one thing that I will say about today's performance that I think was a positive was that even though Chelsea were being really difficult and they were coming in with those really bad challenges, we kind of gave it back to them. And I remember something that, Gabriel Jesus said in one of his most recent interviews. I think it was a Brazilian publication where he said that I don't take any shit. And, sometimes you have to kick defenders back when they kick you. And I do think Arsenal need to take some of that, with them because that's what teams are always going to revert to. At the end of the day, they're going to test that soft underbelly that Arsenal is known to have historically. And the more you kick them back, the less likely they are to come back at you. So, yeah, I do think that we played really well. Chelsea kind of need to look at probably the fact that they're not a back four team. The game was kind of gone already, by the time that they had changed to a back three/back five, but they still got exposed. But they were really poor in that back four. They're not a back four team. They're definitely a back three team. But ultimately we still scored 2 goals when they went to a back three, which I do speaks to what we were doing. So there's 227 of you guys in here. That's really amazing. I love that. If you guys kind of see me looking to the side here, LAFC are playing as well. So I'm trying to peek over towards them, but I am paying attention to you. And then I guess obviously we have to caveat everything by saying it's just preseason. But what you take from preseason is not necessarily the results. It's the way you play and the way that the players look. And even if you take away the result and I just look at the starting lineup and the way that they played in that first half, I do think that if you play that way against the majority of the Premier League, you're going to beat them. There was still some things to probably improve upon, which we we'll probably talk about that. But I think ultimately what you saw was a group of players that were playing, giving you seven, eights, nines type of performances, a lot of good orchestrated pressing, some really slick, quick one-touch passing, clinical finishing, and really, really good defensive principles. And those types of things are going to get you over the line in most games in the Premier League. So when you think about how we played during the last preseason, I do think that we drew to Tottenham and lost to Chelsea, and we blew Chelsea away this time around. So we are improving, and we have to remember also that even though, like, we'll talk about it, I think Sambi in his cameo was really good, Eddie Nketiah and Marquinhos, but this is a team that doesn't even have Tomiyasu, Tierney, ESR, and Vieira in it yet. And by what Arteta and Edu have already said, that we're not done in the transfer window. If you bring a winger, into this team and another central midfielder, I think we can really start looking at ourselves as, a team that's really pushing for something this season. So, I'm very happy about what I saw. I think it's very encouraging in terms of the way that we play. And a lot of the layers that Arteta has been kind of laying down over the last couple of years have started to really come, to the forefront. We can actually see it now because we have quality players that can execute it. Our press was never very good. Up until like the end of last season or like in the middle of last season, it was very inconsistent. Sometimes we went, sometimes we didn't. And let's be honest, like having Lacazette up there, having Aubameyang up there, we weren't able to press. But having Gabby Jesus, having Martinelli, having Saka up there, Ødegaard leading those presses, having Xhaka and Partey pushed right up, and then having two center backs that you can't beat, over the top, makes us a team that just plays in the half. It's just so different than what we were doing before. So, the evolution of this team and the principles that Arteta has laid down are really starting to come to the forefront when we're bringing in more quality players. And, we'll talk about the individual performances, but ultimately I have nothing to complain about because that's what you want to see. Those are the types of things that you want to see, because if you can repeat those over and over, you'll win a lot of games. High Tech J says, I've always said, get Mikel the players and we'll see just how good we are. Ed says, what's great is the new players are slotting into our Arteta system seamlessly, partly because two are from Man City, but also Saliba is adjusting well. Chelsea integrating two CBs will be tough. K9 says, I've not been this comfortable playing from the back before. I thought we looked good playing the ball out of the back. Gerard says Zinchenko will be great for Arsenal. We'll talk about him as well. Tony says the timeline slandering Nelly, dudes come on and balls out. Honestly, I didn't see the slandering of Martinelli. I did see, did they give up a penalty? I hope not. What I did see was more of, from my perspective on my timeline, I saw people kind of questioning his performance in the last game and just kind of saying like he needs to pick his head up and things like that. I thought Martinelli was brilliant today, and this is the Martinelli that we know. It's the Martinelli that we love, so I think most people do love Martinelli, but I hear you. Olivier says, add Vieira as an option, fire. Phil says, Jess, we are winning the league. Not quite sure about that, but yeah, I get the feeling. Amira says Sambi is an 8, and I'll forever stand by that. I mean, he was great in the 8 position. Troy says Arsenal on the rise. I don't care if it's preseason. Praise says so fluid in the first half. Wow. Matt G says we are defensively very solid. What I'll say is that about the defense is that we've come a long way. I've been critical about the attack, but something that always worried me, under Arsene and the latter years and under Unai and early on under Arteta was defense. Why are we leaking goals? Why are we so easy to get by? And so when you transition from like Mustafi and Socrates and, these types of guys, and then you get into like Ben White and Saliba and Gabriel, you can just see how much different that is, So I'm loving that Arteta really focused on defensive principles early on. I know that a lot of Arsenal fans didn't like it because it really stunted the attack, but he needed to lay that foundation down. And as time has gone on, it seems like we've gotten better and better and better at those principles. And now we have the players to really execute it. So I'm loving it. I really am. Pioneer says so much to like about us. Xhaka and Saka not at their best, I thought. I do agree with that. Edison says, I think the team we started tonight will be our starting lineup against Crystal Palace in our opening game. TOJ says, I thought Saka's thoughts on Saka's performance. Don't think he's been great in recent months. So let's go ahead and jump into like the actual players and what their like ratings will be. What I really want from you guys, there's 540 of you guys in here, which is absolutely insane. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and make sure that you guys get in the chat and let me know what you guys think. You know what I'm saying? So let's get into it. So let's start off with Ramsdale. I do think that, he had some. This is the thing about Ramsdale is that his distribution is built on kind of like the idea of doing the types of passes that goalkeepers don't usually do, and I do think going down the center of the pitch can be a little bit tricky, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. We didn't get punished for it, but this is something that I do think we're going to see a lot of, and I think Arteta's okay with sometimes it not coming off because when it does, it's really good. And the ball, from Ramsdale into Martinelli is absolutely mustard. The balls that he plays into, Partey's feet and things like that when they come off, they're really good. I think in this game he tried to hit Jesus a couple of times, it didn't come off. But I thought Ramsdale, why we have him and not Leno is because of his distribution. And when it's on point, we really need to take advantage of it. Sometimes I do think that he hits those long balls, and I do think we could do better with them because it's so, so good. But other than that, and being more clinical off of that distribution, I think that his one save off of the deflected shot was really good. He didn't have much to do because we really dominated that first half. But I'll give Ramsdale a 8 for this game. Clean sheet, looked confident back there. Obviously, you look more confident when you're playing with the better players. I do think that there was an overemphasis on his performance against Orlando City. Look who he had in front of him: Cedric, Nuno, Rob Holding, and Marie. You have the better players in front of you. You do better. So, for me, Ramsdale gets an 8. I still think like there's just times where we're just going to have to suck it up because some of those passes are not going to get there. But the ones that do, we still need to do better with them because it's such good distribution. And so happy to see Ramsdale back to that. Moving on to Ben White, thought he had a really good game. Again, I thought his performance against Orlando was very overemphasized, not really taking into account that this was his second game back and he didn't play a lot during the back end of last season once he got kind of injured. And he played a lot of that home stretch before he got really injured, like injured. Do you know what I mean? Like he was strapped up for a long time. So for me, Ben White, I do think that this is the position that he should play at the beginning of the season since Tomiyasu is not ready to go. But I thought his defending, his positioning, his distribution, the smoothness between him and Saliba is so good. And all you can really hope is that on the other side, that kind of smooths out a little bit more. But I do think the right side is looking really, really good. Saliba and Ben White look good on that side. So for me, Ben White, a lot better than what he did against Orlando City. Never thought that performance was actually like an indication of who he is. Ben White is a class player, and so I'm going to give him a 7.5. Not quite like as good as everybody else, but a solid performance, and that's what you expect from somebody like Ben White. Tony says, White in the right back three gives me calm. Exactly. I really like that he looks comfortable there and we kind of can keep our same principles of kind of playing in a back three that's kind of like shifted and all that kind of stuff, or a little bit, I don't know how to say it, but like the left back is a little bit higher, right back is a little bit deeper, playing more like a midfielder. I do think that looks really, really good for us. So I thought he did a really, really good job. And again, Ben White, I will kind of always back him because I do think he's pretty underrated in this fan base. You know what I mean? And, I just feel like combinations are so important. I think the combination of Ben White and Saliba is really nice. Now, moving on to the other side, let's talk about somebody who made their debut today, which is Alexander Zinchenko. I'm not surprised that he started. I felt like he was going to start because we kind of need to get him going because he's probably going to start the beginning of the season. Started at left back. I thought only had one moment where he got done, but on the ball, he was exceptional. He had one, crossfield ball that was absolutely perfect. He had a little, shimmy shake there on the left-hand side and got past, I think Reece James or somebody like that. And we just looked very balanced. That back line looked very balanced with the players that we had there. And I think this has been the vision that Arteta has been working towards, having more of a center back in at right back and having more of a midfielder in on left back, and it just all kind of clicked and made sense. This is Zinchenko without actually being used to his teammates and integrated properly, and he gave us a really good first glimpse at what he could do for us. There was one shot that he had with his right foot. If he had just taken it a little bit quicker, he might have gotten it on frame. But other than that, I thought that was a very good debut of sorts, and couldn't be happier about this player. I think he's going to completely change how the back line operates. So for me, Zinchenko, he's going to get an 8.5. Thought it was really, really good. Nothing to really complain about there with Zinchenko. See what you guys are saying. Make sure you guys are putting your ratings in the chat box as well. Dev M says Zinchenko is very good. Tierney needs to step up. That's really the best thing about all of this. Oh my gosh, there's 700 of you guys in here. I am totally I'm flattered, you guys. Oh my gosh, I should have put some makeup on. Oh my God. Oh, LAFC just scored another goal. Oh, Bale scored his debut goal. Oh my gosh, insane. Oh, this is such a day. It's such a day. It's such a day, you guys. Amazing. Bale, baby. Yes, I can say that now, because he's no longer a Spurs person. He's fully Real Madrid. It's what is it called? When something the time runs so long that it's no longer relevant, it's a law term. But yeah, that's so exciting. But what I'll say about Tierney is that he hasn't even I know he has to be looking from the sideline and thinking, I really need to get it together because this is Arteta's guy. This is Arteta's guy. He brought in Zinchenko. This is his person. He knows how Arteta wants to play. He's the ideal profile. So Tierney really needs to kind of step up where he didn't really have the beating, or Nuno didn't really have the beating of him last season in terms of playing for his position. I do think Zinchenko has something over him. So, Tierney does have to work up to it. But when you think about it, when you don't even have Tierney yet in there, you don't have Tomiyasu, we're building some depth there, which is really nice, but Zinchenko was really good. So yeah, nothing really to complain about there. Statute of limitations. Exactly. That's what I was talking about. That's how I can be excited about Bale now, even though it's oh my gosh, he was a Spurs player. So talking about, let's go to Gabriel. Shaky. I thought defensively he was okay. Shaky on the ball. A little bit slow on the ball. Gabriel was the pressing trigger. That's what I figured out. In the first half when Chelsea decided to press, they pressed Gabriel. They didn't press Saliba. They didn't press White. They didn't press Zinchenko. They pressed Gabriel. And I think that, if I was the opposition and I thought, what defender am I going to step onto? It probably would be Gabriel, because when you look at those three, I do think that they are better technically than Gabriel. And what Gabriel just needs to do is just be a little bit quicker on the ball, make his decisions a little bit quicker. I think he was taken aback that they were stepping onto him in that way. But nevertheless, I don't think it was a disaster class or anything like that. I just think that early on, you can see they were stepping onto him and he was kind of a little bit behind. He needed to hurry up. But other than that, I think defensively, especially with the partnership with Saliba, it just looks so good and imposing. This every single time they try to kick it over the top, they just handled it. Seems like they have a good rapport, which is nice. So I'm going to give Gabriel a 7. I thought he was just fine. He was not just fine. He was good. Not as good as everybody else. And this is Gabriel Magalhaes, by the way. So there you go. There's 742 of you guys in here, which is insane. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel. Get some more eyes on this video. I'd really appreciate it. Crispy Rice also says a 7, which is great. So love Gabriel. Sometimes he does this. He gets stepped on because he's definitely the least technical in that back line, so he just needs to hurry up a little bit more. Saliba. I left him for last for the back line because today was the day where we really saw the Rolls Royce come out of the garage. This was it, playing up against good opposition. They got no change out of Saliba. And there were moments in that first half where I do feel like he did not a lot of covering, but he did a lot of sweeping behind Gabriel on the left-hand side. And he just covers a lot of ground. He's very calm. He does have the aura, he just is everything that we thought he was going to be. And I'm just so excited for him to be coming into this team now because it's the perfect time for him to. We have more center backs and good defenders around him, so he's not going to feel exposed. And it gives him the platform to really show what he can do without feeling so under pressure. And Saliba is really stepping up to the plate. And I really like the combination of him and Ben White on the right. I like the combination of him and Gabriel through the middle. I think all of that really works out really nicely. And so Saliba had an excellent game today. They just couldn't get anything out of him. And again, even though I don't think Chelsea played well, when you look at some of the attackers that they have, people think that those guys are okay. Havertz, people rate him. Not really Timo Werner, but you guys know what I mean. They're not a bad team, so for him to not have any blunders and have a near perfect, performance, I do think that that's a good sign that he's ready, which that's all I'm really looking for, is to feel like he's ready to go and ready to play in this league. So for me, Saliba gets a 9. He's just everything that you could expect from a center back. And I do think that is the starting back line that we should have going into Crystal Palace. And now Tomiyasu and Tierney need to work for their spots. That's where we're kind of are at right now. Tarun says he was ready 2 seasons ago. If you think that, then you never really watched him at Nice. He wasn't ready to go at Nice at all, or said Etienne. So again, we always want to try to act like, I believe Arsenal fans that think that he was ready the moment that he signed for us never watched him. They didn't. They watched compilations. They saw a couple of clips. Saliba's always been really good, but you only arrive in the Premier League once. And you can always use Fofana as some sort of benchmark. But I'm sorry, Fofana plays for Leicester in a back 3. You only arrive at Arsenal one time. Arsenal is not Leicester. You can't make the same mistakes. Those live with you. So with the mess that Arsenal were in, especially with the back line not really being secure, I don't think Saliba needed to come in right away. I do think that this has played out really, really well for us. And even if you wanted Saliba to play with us last season, I do think you have to at least look at it honestly and say, okay, he probably did need a year or so on loan. I just don't really see how you can, have watched him and not feel that way. Tony says, I was always looking forward to seeing Saliba. He's better than I thought. K9 says, the 3-year wait was well worth it. Saliba gets a 9 from me. Clement says, the low block or decide to be physical with you. We can play our brand of football and show toughness and physicality on our own. iGamer says, the loan did Saliba really, really good. Saliba was not ready day 1. You didn't watch him. You actually did not watch him at Nice or said Etienne if you thought that he was ready day 1. You didn't. You watch compilations. Dylan says, what happened to Fofana? He's still recovering from a leg break. I think he's back. He was back at the back end of their season. So yeah, he's already there. Yeah. So what's it called? Praise says, if this team plays more together for an extended period of time, as Edu said, oh baby. So yeah, Saliba was excellent. I really, I'm just excited about that back line. Look how far we've come, so there you go. And again, Tomiyasu and I think Tierney need to work their way back into this team. This is the team until this is the back line until further notice. So yeah. Um, Tarun says, did not need to watch him, watched enough of Holding and Mustafi. Again, I just feel like that's just removing so much context and just, okay, well, if Mustafi and them are there, then we should just throw Saliba in. Again, I think Arteta was actually protecting Saliba more than anything. I think the whole idea that he hated him and all this kind of stuff is a complete fabrication. And the wait was worth it. And the loan did him well. I get that Saliba or Mustafi and them weren't very good, but again, I just feel like some football fans are just like, then we should have just played an 18-year-old. That's not the answer. So yeah, and the loan was not a mistake. This is just a joke at this point, you guys. Come on. Anyways, there's almost 800 of you guys in here. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. Let's keep moving. To the midfield. So let's start off with Xhaka. Conversation to be had here. So what I'm going to say is probably going to sound strange, but Xhaka played very, very well, but you could clearly see that the upgrade is needed there. And the reason why is I get it's preseason and he's a little bit rusty, but I saw the same kind of limitations that I saw last season. And Xhaka is definitely playing a more free role. You know, him and Ødegaard are really kind of free in those free 8 roles, and Thomas Partey is kind of just like existing in that lone 6. Obviously, Xhaka does a lot more, helps him a lot more because that's just a part of his nature and probably maybe instruction. But when he gets into those advanced positions, and this is besides the Joga Benito at the end of the game, I get that that existed and that was absolutely amazing. But in the earlier parts of the game where we were getting to the edge of the box and Gabriel Jesus was dropping deep, Martinelli was dropping deep, and they were looking for people to pass the ball to. There weren't any third man runs into the box except for Ødegaard's goal. And Xhaka, when he was getting it, you could just tell he was just kind of like, what do I do on this edge of the box? Some of his touches were quite heavy, and he just doesn't have that ability in those tight areas, especially when you get in and around the box. And so, I just can't help but see the upgrade needs to happen there. I would love to see somebody like Tielemans come in. I think he'd be perfect for that position. But nevertheless, I can't really blame Xhaka for his performance. This is the thing about Xhaka is that he plays as to the best of his ability in that position. He does very well, and we win games. But if we want to take it to the next level, there's another player that we could get that could definitely take us there. That doesn't mean that Xhaka's not playing well, but it just means that we could do a little bit better. And this is where football Twitter really becomes a little bit toxic. It's if you think you need to get rid of the player, you'll say that the player was bad. He was not bad today. He was actually really good. I'm going to give him an 8. But, you just look at it when you're getting into those final third positions and you think, what would it be like if you had somebody a little bit more like Ødegaard on that side? That was able to do a little bit more of the creativity. I still think the left-hand side lacks a little bit of creativity, where we have like Ben White and Thomas Partey, Ødegaard, Saka on that side, and even Gabriel Jesus kind of drifts off to that side as well. On the left side, we're not really seeing the same thing. Zinchenko will help, but I do think you need another player there. So Xhaka gets an 8 for me, but I still can't help but see, that position needing a little bit something else. And I know some people say, how could you say that? Like, Xhaka was great. He was, but that position is evolving now. We're not really a 4-2-3-1 team anymore. We went to that in the second half. In the second half, when they went to a 3-4-3, we went to a 4-2-3-1. But early on in that game, you could just kind of see that there was something else that we could have added there. But thought Xhaka was really, really good today. Very solid, very involved in everything that we were doing. But again, it's not a rant, you guys. Like, this is the thing. It's like, if I say anything about Granit Xhaka needing to be upgraded upon, it's a rant. It's like you guys didn't even hear that I said that he played really, really well. This is the thing. It's like nobody can hear you because if you don't, it's just they were either really, really good or shit. That's not how it works, you know? So it's not a rant. It's just I do think that there's another player that we can bring in that can improve upon that position. Again, we're playing against a Chelsea team that didn't play very well, you know, and there's other tests throughout the season, like if we're going to play against Manchester City, you know, Liverpool, there's other tests that are going to come throughout the season where we probably will want to see somebody different there. Maybe Vieira can be that player, but I do think that's probably why we're looking at Tielemans is because he can do a little bit more right up against like in the box, like right there. He'll make more third man runs. And you saw when we made a those third man runs, we scored a goal. You know, so that's just my point, you know. It's just I'm not saying we have to get rid of Xhaka either. I'm saying he could just stay. You know, he can stay as another option. But the idea that I just had a rant about Xhaka, even though I just said so many good things that he did, I don't think people actually listen. Anton Dunn says, but that's the side with less defensive support. So having Tielemans there might not help to stop us getting pressed hard on that side. When we played against Manchester City last season, I didn't see us playing any sort of defensive way. We played just as attacking as we always have. And I envision Arteta continuing to push forward with his vision of being the dominant team in a match, regardless of who we're playing. So that might still include a different type of left eight. Um, Juicebox Leal says a well-rounded Matthias Nunes would be ideal for Arsenal. Foot said Xhaka I don't like, but he's nice in the match today. Jerome says Xhaka needs to be the third option on the bench. K9 says Xhaka found himself the most advanced player with no effect. Aqual says, I can tell you Arteta will not drop Xhaka for Tielemans or Paqueta. He likes Xhaka so much for Arteta. Xhaka plays if fit. Again, we have to see Arteta bring in his own players. You know, he hasn't really had a midfielder that he's brought in that's his player, has he? You know, so if he was to bring in Tielemans or somebody that he really likes, you just don't really know. And I think this whole idea of dropping, again, I think we need to throw away the idea of dropping, the idea of, bench players, team number two. It's about having options. I'm not saying Xhaka will never play. I'm just saying maybe at the end of a match, if we're pushing for a goal, you might want to put in somebody that has a little bit more ingenuity in around the box so you can push for that goal. Because Xhaka sometimes, like, he just doesn't have it. Today, he was very good, but I'm not speaking a foreign language right now. I know you guys know what I'm saying. Mackie says, need to give the commentators a 9. They were really, really entertaining. They're all right. They're all right. They were better than the last ones. iGamer said, yeah, for real, we can get an upgrade. Facts, Jess. And like, not even an upgrade. Maybe that's the word. Maybe that's the word that people are not liking is upgrade. For me, it's an upgrade. But if you like the word another option better because you like Xhaka so much, fair enough. But yeah, I'm just saying, Crispy Rice says, I totally agree, Jess, but Xhaka is still important for the squad as a whole. Never said we had to get rid of him. Just said we need another option or an upgrade. That's it. So he gets an 8 for me. There's 800 of you guys in here. Like the video, give me you guys your ratings. Let me know what you guys are thinking. Let's talk about Thomas Partey. So I don't think that this was his best game, but I do think that he did a lot of good things. There was some like moments where I did think that he needed to fizz the pass a little bit more. We know that one of his best skills is like the balls in between the lines. His shifting the ball from side to side was very good. His pressing was pretty good. His recoveries were pretty good. I just thought that there was just some times where he just needed to put a little bit more weight on his passes. Nevertheless, if this is an off game for Thomas Partey, which I do think it wasn't like his best, this is what I need to see. This is kind of like the bare minimum that I need to see from him. Sometimes what we see from Partey is when he's not at 100%, he really drops down. Like he really drops down. If this is what a kind of off, game for him, not 100%, that kind of stuff, this is what I want to see. And so I do think he was slightly off. He might have been a little bit tired, when he's trying to get his fitness. He's not always the best, but his levels need to be between a 7 and a 9. it can never drop below that, because when he drops below that, I mean, he is just like, he's not even the same player. He's, you might as well take him out. So for me, I'm going to give Partey a 7. Again, I thought he was kind of in the Ben White category, not quite the best player out there, not really pulling up trees, but really solid. And that's what you kind of need from your players. Like, some players are going to have 9s, some players are going to be 7s, but what you don't want is them dropping into like the 4s and 5s. That's what you don't want. So I do like that from Partey. It wasn't the big drop that I'm used to from him when he's not playing at 100%. Devm says Partey put in a good shift, 7.5 for me. Arnolito says Partey is the most important in our team. Ola Donkey says competition and partner for Xhaka and Partey, Neves or Savage. Ishan says, agree that we should get an upgrade on Xhaka, even though I love him, but Tielemans is not that man for me. He might be better creatively than Xhaka, but he has a lot of holes in his game. Blake says, Xhaka's great first time assist tonight and great strike on his right that led to Saka's goal. I think he's been pretty good from that left 8 role. Can we upgrade? Maybe, but I think he's earned the spot. Again, whoever comes in, I don't think they will automatically always start or just completely just shove him out. Again, quite similarly to like the situation that we now have with Ben White, Tomiyasu, Saliba, and Gabriel, Zinchenko, and Tierney. People have to work for their spots, but there's not a lot of drop off. When you get beyond Xhaka and Thomas Partey, there's a drop off there. So I still think regardless to if you want to upgrade or not, what you want is a better option than maybe El Neni, So I still think there's a point there, even if you don't agree that Xhaka should lose his spot per se. So yeah, Partey was okay. This was not his best performance, but also he didn't get injured, and that's what I was really looking for. Let's see. Ola Donkey says, I was depressed that West Ham got Scamacca. Need to respond with Gapco. I don't know. Dylan says, if we get Savage, we will have the De Bruyne kind of player. Honestly, I would be aiming for him in Arsenal. I'm not sure we're really in for him, to be honest, but he's a great player. The Cosmic Moss says, remember everyone, Xhaka and Partey weren't always available last season. And that's just another point there. Like, I think people get too hung up in like, I love Xhaka and I want to back him so hard that I don't think that we need another player. But ultimately, like, it'll keep Xhaka said he wants the pressure. I saw him say that. So that would like be okay to bring another player in that can kind of rotate with the two of them. We don't drop off a level and give that level of competition and maybe something a little bit different. I don't necessarily feel like that's Vieira. I do think Vieira is going to be more of like a wing option / Ødegaard competition. So we'll see. Partey was for me, and I'm obviously biggest Thomas Partey fan. I thought he was a 7, and I've seen him play way better. His levels are much higher than that, but he didn't get hurt, and he was definitely really solid. So that's all that I can really ask for. Yeah, so there's 834 of you guys in here. Again, insane. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. Now, Ødegaard, I thought he was excellent. I thought he was mustard. Scored a goal, third man run, very good touch. That's what we need from him. We need him to be a leader out there and to lead by example. And so he did all the pressing. A lot of good tactical fouls. I thought his tactical fouling last season was not good because he would get bypassed and try to grab. This time he knew to take the players down, which is great. That's definitely something that Arteta is teaching them to do. City tactical foul like nobody I've ever seen. Ødegaard really got the hang of it in this game. I thought he was chippy. I thought he was smooth on the ball. A lot of good. There was like little night, like the combination of him and Jesus is going to be very, very good because they're on the same wavelength. I think creatively. So, I thought Ødegaard was really good. He got the goal. I'm going to give him a 9. That's usually what I need from his performances. It was a big moment, big team, playing against a big team, showed up on the ball, showed up off the ball, and scored a goal. That's what I expect from Ødegaard. you know, he's just Ødegaard. Like, I don't know how else to really describe it because this is what I see from him most games, but he doesn't have the finishing touch, and he had that today. So, yeah, definitely a captain's like performance. He's such a talented player coming into the early part of his prime. So, my expectations of him are a little bit different than the younger players like Martinelli. He's still young, but I think he has more experience than them. And so, yeah, Martin Ødegaard, 9 for me. Nothing to really complain about when it comes to him. Like, I just thought he was really, really, really good today. P. Trim says Ødegaard needs to get comfortable shooting. Elliot Roberts says Ødegaard, a sunny day and a hot night, 9. Tony says Ødegaard is going to feast with Gabby, and Saka. Nashville says he was really good. Dublin says Chelsea did not lay a glove on us. Learn More says Ødegaard today reminded me of young Cesc Fabregas, a creative and smart with a 9 star. 9 with a star. Jamar says the best goal was Sambi's. K9 says Ødegaard was great today. In this game, he trimmed the width for coverage for more presence in the box. He gets a 9. Yeah, I mean, it's just if he could take his game to the next level, he's going to be almost unplayable because last season I thought like the whole season I probably would have given him a 7.5, 8. But what was really missing was obviously goals. He needs more goals, and just not going missing in big games. Or not really even just big games, but away games, and things like that. And so he just seems to be ready to work and get to the next level. And we've lacked hunger in this team for a long time. We've lacked players that take getting hurt and missing out on targets really seriously and take it so hard that they want to work harder and take it to the next level. And Ødegaard is really talked about the hurt and the pain and the disappointment of last season and wanting to use that as fuel for this season. And I can kind of see that in this performance for today. Obviously, it's early days, it's preseason. Chelsea played crap, but Ødegaard was so good today, and I love him. He's somebody that I definitely thought like, and I'm honest about this, that I wanted Madison, over him. But, what you really want from players is to really prove you wrong. And I do think I was wrong about Ødegaard in terms of who fit us better. Madison is an excellent player, but Ødegaard is kind of like exactly what we needed at the right time. And if he can just, again, add those goals to his game and just continue to get better, I think the sky's the limit for him. My gamer says 9 for Ødegaard is accurate. He's comfortable and decisive, praying to see that that's the norm for him going forward. Clement says, by the way, El Clasico preseason between Madrid and Barcelona and Vegas soon. Christoph Michel says, now that he's has an intelligent runner up front in Jesus, Ødegaard would have more options to choose from. He's playing 3D chess out there. So yeah, he was excellent. Like, so good. So I'm giving him a 9. Let's talk about Saka. I saw earlier somebody said that they didn't think Saka had a very good game. I do think that, again, kind of like Thomas and Ben White, probably wasn't at the level of Ødegaard, Saliba, Jesus. Like they weren't there, but I don't think he was poor. What I do think is that, like, he's not 100% fit yet, because he's just kind of coming back into the fold. And Saka has such a difficult job playing on that right-hand side for me because he has to usually have 4 or 5 players up against him. And I think today was pretty much the same. Like, he drew a lot of attention on that right-hand side, but what he didn't have was the quickness of thought. He didn't have the quickness of thought to, like, what am I going to do? Am I going to beat the man or am I going to pass it? He was kind of a little bit sluggish in like what he was trying to do. Now, Saka still scored a goal, and so I understand that. And usually if you kind of criticize a player or say that they weren't amazing but they still scored a goal, you get slandered for it. But again, there was a lot that happened before he scored that goal, right? So Saka for me, I think I'm going to give him a 6.5, because we know what a fit and really good, decisive Saka looks like. And he just didn't really have that today. But I think it's just more fitness and him not being at 100%. And his job is so hard. They always quadruple team him. So I want to give him the benefit of the doubt there. But Saka, even on a bad day, is usually pretty good, and he's so consistent that, I'm sure he'll be fine. Nashville says, I don't speak ill of Saka, so I'll refrain from assigning him a number today. Christoph says, Saka 6.5. Better he starts the season slowly, eases his way in. Let the pressure and expectations fall off. Jesus, Saka will benefit from that. Crispy Rice says Saka 7, solid, but I'm confident he'll improve. Bobby Reed says, Jesus, really good run on the turn. I think he'll do great against a high line. We'll talk about him in just a sec. iGamer says Saka was good, not his best, but good enough. That's kind of where I'm at with Saka today. It wasn't amazing, but it wasn't crap either. Dylan says Saka has been bang average since January. I don't agree with that. Christoph says Saka 6. Magzino says Defo not fit. He left Alonso for dead on that third goal. And what I'll say about Saka is that what he really needs this next season is somebody that can compete with him and step in for him on that right-hand side. And I think right now he doesn't really have that. I think that level of competition is still missing in the team when everybody's kind of fit. Hopefully they get fit soon. There'll be more competition. But I really think it's so important for Arteta and Edu to get another right winger, and not a right winger that's a kid, not somebody like Marquinhos, who we'll get onto him, not a Marquinhos, but somebody who's 25 years old, something around there, experience, and that could really put some pressure on Saka, but also allow him to take some rest. I think that's really important for the development of Saka's career. I know that there's some people that, have this idea that what we need to do is keep Saka happy. I actually don't think that that's what we need to do. I don't think that's ever been a good idea. Giving players a big contract and also not having anybody there to compete with their spot. We've done that with Ozil. We've done that with Aubameyang, and ultimately it hasn't worked. I think you give Saka what he's worth in terms of what he deserves in terms of a contract, but you also make sure that he understands that, like, Arsenal are serious. And the only way you can show a player that they're serious is by making sure that, there's still some competition for everybody's position, including his, so I think we'll also, like, obviously tomorrow come back and have a conversation about, like, the rumors about Bowen and Olise and stuff like that. But a player has got to come in. A player has got to come in for him to rest his legs, but also to make sure that the fire is lit underneath him. We don't need him getting complacent. If he's not complacent, he can go as high as he wants to go. Crispy Rice says Saka did a great job on the high press. That's where he was really solid. Anton Dunn says, I don't even want him starting every game unless he deserves it. Geoff says, can I remind those digging at Saka, he's only had 2 weeks off and he's only been back for a week and a half. Tony says Saka doing handstands is better than Pepe. Exactly. So yeah, we will definitely talk more about that. But Saka, he just needs a little bit more. Mikel, the Cone Man, says Saka lacks goal scoring instinct, which makes me feel like he's a wing back at best. Well, that's your opinion, but he plays winger for, like, England and Arsenal, and he scored more goals than a lot of other people's favorite wingers last season. So I don't know necessarily. I feel like he lacks goal scoring instinct. Do I think he could shoot a little bit more? I think the whole team could shoot a little bit more, if I'm honest. So I think Saka can play any position that he wants to play, but right wing is his position right now. And he's still very young, so yeah, I think Saka definitely has room to improve. Would I say that he doesn't have goal scoring instinct? I wouldn't say that. I would say that he just needs maybe some better finishing. That's kind of where I'm at with Saka. So there's 826 of you guys in here. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. I want to say that I thought Martinelli was really good. Martinelli was very good today. Where I think some people were, Tony has said that he felt like people were being critical of him. I think that this is the, Martinelli that we're used to seeing, and he was excellent today. I thought him and Gabriel Jesus really, really connected well. Where I thought Nketiah and Jesus connected really well the game prior. So I think Jesus, what he does for especially the front line, is he makes them so much better. He gives them different options and he does the right things on the ball. And Martinelli really benefited from that. Martinelli was excellent, today, and that's just what we need. We need Martinelli playing well. We need Nketiah playing well, and eventually, when ESR comes back in, we need him playing well. So I thought he looked like the real deal today. I think he was virtually almost unplayable, and as long as Martinelli can get the finishing touch going, I think that's pretty much like the only thing that is kind of holding him back a little bit. But other than that, I thought he was excellent today. I'm going to give Martinelli an 8.5. Now, um, Gabriel Jesus, what a player that is, right? Like, he was so good. Like, he was so good today. But I'm not surprised. You guys know, if you've been on this channel before, um, like, I love that guy. I really, really do. And I think, oh, yeah, I understand where people were saying that they wanted the tall striker, but we don't hoof crosses in. In this preseason, have you seen us with the real team out there, not the not good team, because obviously Cedric plays in that team and he just hoofs in crosses, but the good team, have you seen them hoof crosses in? You don't. We're not a crossing team. That's not it. So the idea that we needed to bring in a tall striker, I don't necessarily feel like was a need. It's a definite plan B that probably should be brought in maybe next season. But in the short term, I think Jesus is perfect for what we want to do. His decision making on the ball is so much better than Lacazette. There's just some things, like sometimes where Lacazette just didn't make the right decisions. I think he knows when to go and he knows when to slow things down. When he comes deep, he's very good. He either can hold it up really well or he turns them so well. Like, he got the best of Chalobah so many times and left him for dead so much. And just his energy and his intention and his alertness and his pressing is just so difficult to deal with. So that goal that he scored off of us kind of pressing, and I think Chalobah gave the ball away, was the type of finishing that we're really missing with Lacazette. Lacazette would have missed that. He would have missed that 100%. He would have kicked it wide or right to the goalkeeper. So that was that initial breakthrough goal that we needed, and we got that. And so for me, Jesus is exactly what I expected him to be. I think would I have preferred Arteta to probably take him out a little bit sooner, maybe, but I don't think he's injured. We have to see what the injury report says, but he didn't get any treatment on the pitch. He walked off. I think he asked to come out because he was maybe cramping, and so a lot of people said that it looked like cramp. So that's what I'm hoping it is. I hope it's not like a pull or anything like that, but he didn't need any treatment. So hopefully we just dodged a bullet there. But that's why we need, I think, another attacker in this team, because again, like, we're still missing a little bit of something, something. But Gabriel Jesus is exactly what I thought he was going to be, just kind of like the fire that we need up top that we just didn't have before. And he was eating them up. So I love that. Gabriel Jesus for me gets a 9. What a player, what a player, what a player. Ursa Major says desperately need a third striker. A cow says Laka milked us and went away, taking 180K per week and not getting us the goals. Reggie says him and Xhaka were cramping. Keenan says, hey, Eddie didn't start at left wing. Thank God, Jess. Doesn't mean I don't think I foresee him playing there at some point. Again, all I really said was like, you know, I thought that he could play there, or we'll see him play there sometimes. And we have during this preseason. So yeah, but as of today, he didn't play there, which is fine. Keenan said, damn, just got back from a massive argument in a YouTuber Discord. What's good, people? An argument about what? Ola Donkey says we need a backup for Jesus and Eddie in case of injuries. Mikkel the Cone Man says we need a plan B striker this season, though. I think we just need another attacker. Darren says it's not just his decision making, it's his execution that impresses me. Geoff says that first team competes with everyone. We should look for stronger squad players now. Proper cover for Partey and Xhaka. I would say not squad players, but other options. Like if you brought in a Tielemans, the level doesn't drop off. I don't think you need to buy squad players. I think you buy players that could potentially displace your starters. So when it comes to the center midfielder and the winger that Arsenal are said to be looking at, I don't want to see any kids come in. I don't want to see any players that need adaptation in, or players that are not really going to disrupt Thomas Partey and Xhaka and Saka. We need players that are going to come in and push. That's what we need. So I want to see adults come in, 25, 26 years old, preferably Premier League proven, that can get straight on that pitch and really push those players for those positions. Because again, we're going to need options, and we're going to be playing in so many competitions that I don't think we need starters and backups. We need just a bunch of really good players, like a good 16 players or so that could potentially be starting for Arsenal. That's what we need. But I do agree that we need stronger players to be brought in as well to add that depth. So I agree with you there. I just don't agree with the terminology. Saturdays equals youth says, feel better about this season than last. Top 4, fingers crossed. We're better than we were last season, that's for sure. Spencer says, we haven't seen Vieira yet. He's gotten a lot of hype towards the end of season in Portugal. That's what Spencer said. I'm really excited about Vieira. I do think he's going criminally underrated at this point. Obviously, I haven't seen him play for Arsenal or play in the Premier League, but I just think that, from what I have seen from him, he just has something at the edge of the box that I think we're missing. Another player that can affect the final third, that's really comfortable on the ball. And like I told you guys, I watched him play Porto versus Lyon, and he ran the game, 21 years old. Tons of experienced players out there, completely ran the game. So he's no slouch. He's going to want to come straight in and push for somebody's position. And I think he's looking at Ødegaard's position. So there you go. Matt says, notice Jesus has given Xhaka more confidence in putting forward passes because he knows Gabby is going to control it and do something with it instead of wasting possible chance. Good catch. I think that's really a good point there. Players feel more comfortable passing those balls into players that they think will be able to keep it, and they don't take the safe route as much. Keenan says, Xhaka is a really solid in that number 8. Tielemans or Paqueta would be a great to challenge him for a start. Crispy Rice says Vieira is not 100% fit right now. He's not 100% fit. But again, once he, gets going, I do think that he'll really be pushing, for a spot, which is what we need. So yeah, I don't know if Vieira is actually with the group, but he's starting to get running and playing and stuff like that. So, that's a good start. So that's kind of it for the starters. I just want to touch on a couple of substitute, performances that I thought were really quite good. Eddie Nketiah, I thought came on, looked really good. I think he totally got past Koulibaly. Koulibaly had to tear him down, to take the ball away from him. And I do think Eddie has looked like a part of the 16, 17 players that could potentially start. And that's what I'm saying. There's a clear group of players that could potentially start for Arsenal, that include everybody that starts in the starting 11. It probably includes Tommy and Tierney and ESR and potentially even Vieira. It also includes maybe Sambi, and then it includes Nketiah. These guys all could potentially start for us, and we wouldn't be like, oh my gosh, is this going to be a terrible day? So Nketiah for me was really bright. I thought that he pressed well, and obviously he came in when the game was kind of already won, but I like Nketiah's energy. I like what he's bringing to the table, and that's, he's really surprising me, which is great. But I think Martinelli also took that last performance that Nketiah had against Orlando and said, actually, I want this spot, and that's what I want to see is players, I wanted to see, we never really know who's going to start because all the players are playing really well. So Nketiah really stood out to me. I thought Sambi was very good today. And, I've been kind of harsh on Sambi, just, I think that the talent is there, but the physicality and stuff has really worried me. I do think moving him from the 6 to the 8 is going to really help him. And he was really good on the ball today. He was really tidy. His passing is really good. And what he has that some of our players don't have is just that range of passing. He has a similar range of passing as Thomas, but I almost think it's better because of the balls that he can put in behind. Thomas is more of a on the ground between the lines and shifting from side to side, little clip balls. Sambi can do all of those, but also hit behind, the forward line and really get it on a forward's toe. We saw that when he started against Newcastle last season. We beat them 2-0. He put a ball right on Saka's toe. But he didn't put it away. But Sambi has an excellent passing range. And so having him in the 8 position, I do think allows him to be a little bit more free, and not have to think so much about the defensive part of things. And his goal was great. His goal, I do agree that that was my favorite goal because I wasn't expecting it. And so Sambi adding goals to his game, playing in the 8 position, using that passing range, you know, um, I do think I was maybe a little bit harsh on him, and he did play really well today. And so for me, Sambi was another standout. Ahora sí, I'll give Nketiah an 8, and I'll give Sambi an 8.5. I thought he was excellent, so there you go. Um, um, Christoph says, really looking forward to Sambi progressing. Love what he can bring to the club as he matures. Kabui says, more than just goals. It was the build-up, the physicality, the chasing back by everyone. We look solid in the middle and at the back. I'm quietly excited. Yeah, exactly. So really did love that for Sambi. Really happy about like what his potential progression could be playing in Europa League and the League Cup matches and things like that. So yeah, really liked Sambi. And I also really like Marquinhos. I thought he looks closer to the first team than, I think a lot of people maybe thought. And he turned Alonso. He took a shot. He didn't look like a young player out there getting bodied. Like he looked good. And so for me, Marquinhos gets a 7. But again, I'm looking to see more from him. I think maybe a loan would be good for him just in case we do get another right winger to play to compete with Saka. But if he stayed, I still think that would be good for him as well because he was just you could just tell like he's physically he's ready to go. Like he turned Alonso and he was on his way and he had to rip him down. So really, really like that performance from him, even though it wasn't like he was doing anything like amazing, but it was better than I thought it would be. And Nuno was all right, you guys. Like Nuno was all right. I still think he gives the ball away a little bit too cheaply. And everybody else was just kind of like there, so we don't have to really go into them that much. But yeah, that's pretty much like where we're at. I'm not sure if I'm missing anybody in terms of like key performances people that you thought really stood out. But yeah, I liked it. I liked it. We have to, I guess, wait for the official kind of injury report and see what happened. I want to see. I only really wanna hear from the club, like, I don't wanna hear people's, like, assumptions, because, those can always be wrong, um, but I don't see anything just yet in terms of, like we'll know soon. We'll know soon what happened to Jesus, but I think he's gonna be fine. He walked off. He asked to come off, so he probably was just like, "Yeah, I don't wanna get banged up anymore." And, yeah, so excited about that. Let's end it there. Don't wanna stay on for too long, but, because I know it's late for a lot of you guys. So, we will come back tomorrow, and I do wanna talk to you guys kind of about, oh, you said that Kaya guy said something? Let me check. Let's see. He got a knock on his quad in the first half and he wasn't feeling very comfortable. We decided not to take any risks. So it's precautionary. Again, like a knock doesn't necessarily mean that they're injured. It just means that like, and that's not exactly what you said, but I don't want to get too alarmed just yet because saying that we're not taking any risks to me seems like a precaution more than anything. But thank you, Joshua, for that update. So we'll just hope for the best there. Again, we don't have much of like preseason left, so if he has to like sit some time out or whatever and like rehabilitate, I think that's just fine. But we beat Chelsea. We won whatever the cup is called, and it was a great game. Good day for the Gooners. And yeah, there's 766 of you guys in here. For it to be so late and for some of you guys and to join the stream, I really do appreciate it. Like you guys have no idea how great it is to see like new faces and old faces, names, but you guys know what I mean, every single stream. And so I do really appreciate your guys' support and all of that. Tomorrow, again, like I said, we will do, talking about the most recent winger kind of links and whatever else you guys want to talk about. So yeah, I'll be back tomorrow. Really enjoyed this, and I'll see you guys tomorrow, you guys.